Hello, this is the Werewolf channel. My name is Louis, I'm the moderator. If you subscribe to the channel and like and comment and all those things, you are in with a chance to win a PlayStation 5. I'm going to take another draw on February the 16th. We already gave one away to Jeff Daniels in October, who seemed to be very happy with it. So please like and subscribe, and you could win a PlayStation 5. Now, let's carry on with stories of Will, our real werewolf.
Hello, this is Will the Werewolf. We're in part 3 of me picking up a hitchhiker. Please go back and listen to part 1 and part 2. I'll put a cardie up in the corner. You need to kind of listen to them for this to make sense. We're travelling down the A9. I've been to Aviemore, I've picked her up, and we have discovered she has terrible taste in music, and I seem to quite like her. So we were just about to pull into the House of Brewer. The House of Brewer is a very, 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 very posh place on the road. And we were going to stop there because she was hungry and I also need a pee, she embarrassingly admitted. These heated seats make it an imperative, she laughed. Ah, imperative, huh? I smiled and laughed. She was fun. We pulled into the car park and got prepared to make the dash through the falling snow. She made to get out as I did, but I told her to wait a while, so I got the umbrella out of the back of the car. This was partially to actually let the posit out of the back seat. He sometimes likes it if I act like he has a physical presence. I walked up to the vehicle's passenger side to shield her from the incoming snow, and on opening the door I took in what was somewhat of a very beautiful sight. There in the seat was this tousled little redhead with deep green pools for eyes, sitting in my clothes and smiling at me. She was beautiful to the core, and the beast inside of me was switched off as I looked at her with what I believe is called empathy, I think that's what it is. I wanted to take care of her, and she looked up at me and spoke. No one's ever done anything like this for me before. Is this what it's like to be looked after by a gentleman? She asked. There was no banter or sarcasm from her. The question was genuine, and it made me smile and feel appreciated. It brought me a new, unknown warmness. My posit sat by me, staring at me, shaking its lolloping head, and just simply said, "Fuck's sake." Her socks and shoes were wet and sat discarded in the passenger footwell of the car. She sat with her feet bared and chewing on her lower lip and just shrugged at me. "What the fuck is going on, Will?" asked Fen with a laugh. I smiled at her, and without any actual words, a lot was communicated between us. I passed her the umbrella handle and physically lifted her out of the car. I then set off and carried her in my arms to the buildings. She was giggling and snuggling into my shoulder. She was so light and so delicate, I was scared to hurt her. What the fuck was going on is right. Oh shit, I think I care. Then this was too much. My posit roared into me, his frustration became more than apparent. He had to act on my behalf in his mind. I transmuted into the beast, half man and half wolf, and uncaring of the view of others, I tore into the small body in my arms. I could not allow myself to care for anyone or anything. Rule 1 of the werewolf: do not care. Having something that I could care for and others could hurt is not something that can be allowed in my world. I tore her apart, her screams replaced by silence. I bit into and ate, then threw the remains of her carcass on the floor and raised my arms to the sky. I let forth my roar. My anger was released into the heavens, my hatred shown to a non-existent god, and in my fury I would show the costs that I will endure to be in this horror show of a world. Again, I shook my head from this dream. My daydream had partially excited me, and I felt my pulse and breathing rate rise as I considered killing this small piece of insignificant perfection and leaving her as a red stain on the virginal white snow. These dreams had got me out of the car park and into the very posh shopping part of the House of Brewer. The House of Brewer is all posh brands, and they call it the Harrods of the Highlands, which I suppose it almost is, apart from the London accents. Can you really imagine me walking into this ultra posh place, this gorgeous older man with a young girl in my arms, and her with bare feet? I was dressed to the very height of style, perfection in casual, black Levi's and a crisp black shirt tailored to my muscular body. This beautiful young woman was dressed in oversized clothes in my arms with no shoes. The staff present were judging us very judgingly with a side order of, let's say, judginess. I liked the fact that we were both revelling in the attention, and I could tell without any chat that we were going to have a lot of fucking fun here. I placed her bare feet on the ground. I put her down gently, allowing her to feel the security and strength of my arms. She never took her eyes from my face. She stared deep into mine. I could sense the thanks that she did not voice. Okay, Sally. What I want you to do, or what I would love you to do, is to choose whatever you want from here. I want you to have whatever you want. She looked around. Well, Fen, it's all nice, but I can't afford any of this. I'm a Primark girl. These things, she pointed around the room, I've seen them on Instagram and stuff. That's Versace, I think, and isn't that Gucci? Tsk. My dear, that is pronounced Gucci. That's how you say it. A woman had materialised next to me in a pink tweed suit. She looked at me to share a pitying look about poor Sally's lack of knowledge. I turned to the woman and told Sally, not breaking eye contact with the lady. Yeah, Gucci is okay, I smiled. I smiled at Sally, showing her who, I was on the side of. Don't worry about the cost, Sally. I will cover what you need. All that stuff in your suitcase is soaked through. Get yourself enough stuff for a couple of weeks. Go on, just fucking enjoy yourself. Really? She exclaimed. I smiled in response. Okay, she yelled, did that fast feet thing that youngsters seem to do in celebration, and kissed me on the cheek. At this point, the once hot middle-aged lady with the perfect hair, perfect makeup and a real lack of judgment tisked again. Can I help you? She asked, and looked me up and down with a very impolite pause. Sir? Yes. Another fucking Karen, according to her badge. Yes, Karen, I think you will be perfect for this. These types are all fucking Karens. This young lady here needs a new wardrobe. I want you to help her get whatever she wants. I mean, whatever she wants. Is that okay? I asked the Karen, who held a false smile. That thin-lined smile was held on her mouth, but doubt was sewn into the lines about her eyes. I could sense her lack of belief, and my posit stood behind her, leering and growling and drooling over her. I slowly reached towards her face and formed just a single finger as my index claw. I'm getting pretty good at this partial transformation thing. The werewolf claw extended towards the woman's face, who started shaking and did not move. Fear affects people in different ways. This was the fear response. I jabbed the claw deep into her eye, and she fell before me on the ground. No screams, just a crumpled silence. Again, I shook my head. Oh, these are wonderful, and smiled at the woman before me. I really think these little escapist thoughts are fantastic. They're brilliant. Thank you, I said to her. Sally, ignorant of all this, was in heaven. Her mouth was held open, and she was openly delighted to be just wandering around this space. She was still in bare feet, swinging her arms and imbibing the atmosphere of the building. The perfect girl had the innocent manner of a child in a sweet shop, and was running around from display to display, holding items up to her body, then carefully, with great care, and being extra careful, putting them exactly how she would find them. She treated them as though they were the most precious things that she could ever imagine. Karen, on the other hand, now looked me up and down and refreshed that false smile. She then looked over at Sally and looked her up and down. I grabbed her by the throat and dragged her so that her eyes were level with my own. Her feet dangled from the ground and she grunted. Her face turned a pleasant purple colour. I squeezed a little harder, then I crushed her neck and smiled at her. I looked at Sally, who now stood hands raised to her screaming face. Karen's next sentence brought me back to reality. Okay, we will do what we can, but you do have to realise how expensive this particular establishment is, don't you? She straightened a few loose hairs back into her perfect hairdo. Sir. She smiled with cross arms and a gently tapping right toe. I nodded and reached into my pocket and drew out my wallet. The rich black leather was delightful and gave promise of the item that I needed. I mean, the only thing that this woman would understand was the power of the credit card. I looked at her and motioned with my eyes towards the hidden contents of the wallet. I then gracefully drew out my black standard credit card. I held it between my middle and forefinger as I waved it at Karen. Her eyes lit up at this reveal of unquestionable wealth. The black credit card showed that I was, well, vastly wealthy. Here you go. I want you to hold this for me, Karen, please. And I winked at her seductively. Oh, and Karen, do you know what? Please treat yourself to something nice as well. A beautiful woman needs beautiful things to adorn her. She blushed with embarrassment and looked at the floor as she soaked in the compliment. Now she knew that I was rich. I had become even vastly more attractive to her than just a set of devastatingly good looks. Stroking her neck, she looked at me and stammered a thank you. Sally at this point flashed a smile and a provocative wink at me again. She ran over to Karen and grabbed her hand, dragging her into her wake like a little tugboat leading a majestic liner. Okay, Sally stared at the woman's name badge. Karen, I need boots for the snow. Now, I don't want hiking boots. I want those boots that go up to the knee or beyond if you can, and they should be leather and a bit sexy. Where would we find something like that? Karen giggled like a small girl as she jogged along with Sally, directing her to the shoe section of the shop. I smiled a deep and comfortable smile while trying to work out how the fuck I was actually enjoying this, because I really was. I looked around for my posit. I could sense his disgust with this whole process. He had wandered over to a display of skins. He'd had a sniff. This ain't a fucking reindeer he sent me. Lying bastards. Now sitting down on the comfy couch and manspreading, I smiled at him and just watched little Sally direct her operations. The staff were now falling over themselves to grant her every wish. Every time she tried something, she would come to show me, and I would read off her body language if she wanted me to like it or not. After a couple of hours, she had amassed a large pile of items, and she seemed satisfied with her purchases. The outfit that she had chosen to wear now made her look a little more mature. She dressed like a country lady, cashmere jumper, knee-high brown boots, nicely cut white jeans, and a little waistcoat. There again, with her looks and that smile, she would have looked amazing in a fucking bin bag. She looked regal and like a true member of the aristocracy. She stood before me, side on, back slightly arched, and with a smile of a goddess. "Will I do, my lord?" she questioned as her hands ran down her little body and her eyes fell to the floor in a playfully seductive manner. "It's all right," I said. "I suppose it'll do. You look okay," I bantered. She laughed and walked towards me with the walk of a model on a catwalk and whispered, just in my hearing, "I look fucking incredible." Once she was satisfied, I handed Karen the PIN code for the processing at the desk. Karen was very polite and thanked me for the jacket that she'd chosen. Karen really did have a certain style. Sally stood by me at the counter, her arm linked through mine, smiling up at me, and I felt worshipped. This was a different kind of worship, though. It was not fear. It was grateful thanks, and it made me feel weirdly warm inside. "Your daughter has a very good taste, Mr. She checked the card. "Wolf?" I smiled at her. I mean, there must be like 25 years difference between me and Sally, so it was a likely assumption. And then Sally laughed. "Oh, no, Karen, I'm not his daughter." Karen paused, a smile now fused on her face as she looked up and down at me with a little disapproval. Sally brought her hand to her mouth to hide the whispered sentence that she was only allowing Karen to hear now. "Fenn's my guardian angel and lover. He was sent from heaven to protect me and look after me. Unlike my father, he cares and strives to support me and make me happy. And unlike my father, he only hurts me when I want him to. Fenn is such an understanding lover. He puts my pleasure before his own. He has a little trick with his pinky finger in my asshole. Oh, it makes me come so hard. I mean so hard, Karen, honestly. I mean, the things he can do with his mouth. Oh my God, I'm getting wet just thinking about it. Fenn, can we please fuck when we get in the car?" She looked at me, jumping up and down and acting the part of a desperate woman, her hand raised to her forehead in an over-dramatic display. She turned back to Karen, winked, and smiled. Karen had now gone bright red and was busy pretending that the conversation did not turn her on. I mean, who could blame her? Two beautiful people before her talking about fucking. I sensed the musty smell of her getting wet in front of me and the adrenaline flowing in her body. Karen was very horny and not getting any. Keeping eye contact with Karen, Sally reached for and touched Karen's hand. Karen did not withdraw. "Fuck's sake again, Will," sent the thoughts of the deposit. Sally then turned, winked at me, and out the sight of Karen asked, "Hey, Fenn, can we invite Karen to join us, please? I bet she's a crazy thing in bed. Can we, please?" All this was just in the earshot of Karen. I nodded. "Of course we can, dear," I said, squeezing her hand. "But you have to remember that not everyone is sex positive like us too. So don't be disappointed if Karen says no." She smiled and nodded and kissed me on the lips, and then turned to Karen once again, holding both the woman's hands. "Now, Karen, I know we don't know each other ever so well, but I really do feel that there is some chemistry here. How would you like to join us for the night?" Karen just stood in a catatonic state, her mouth hanging open, her face flushed, going bright red. She smiled, her eyes sinking to the floor. Her body language was about comforting herself as she rubbed her own wrists. Sally reached out her hand again and held Karen's as their eyes met. "Please, Karen, please say yes to me. Say yes to Fenn. Let's live for the now, not for the future. Who knows what tomorrow will bring?" Karen then smiled at Sally. I finish work at 5 p.m, she said as she turned away, slowly letting go of Sally's hand. We both held Karen's eye contact until she'd fully turned away and flounced. Yes, she flounced as she walked her away from us, her back to us. We had made her fucking day. She felt like $1 million right now. I turned and looked at Sally. She turned and looked at me. I grabbed her hand and a load of the shopping bags, and we both ran to the door. At the door, we started to laugh. The laughter was so hard that we had to sit down to get some relief from it. People stared and looked disgruntled, but we didn't give a shit. We just sat there and let the outflow of mirth happen. "What the fuck was that, Sally? What the fuck did you just do there?" I said in between laughing bouts. "I made that woman's day. Look at us, Fenn. We are fucking gorgeous. She thinks we're gonna fuck her. She will be feeling incredible right now," she replied. "And the threesome thing?" I asked. "That was shocking and genius at the same time." "I don't know, it just seemed the inappropriate thing to say," she smiled, and we laughed again. I liked Sally. I like her a lot. Picking up the bags, I called on the posit to follow, and we went in the food hall to get her a meal. So, that's part 3. Part 4 will be coming next week. Please like the video if you like it. Please leave a comment, that would be great. Please subscribe. If you could, put the word out there that these stories are out there and that the werewolves are out there. Most of your friends will think you're mad, but hey, that's okay. Being mad's fun. Thanks for listening. This is your werewolf out. Love you all. Bye.